Matt Bernier, joined by DRF's national handicapper Mike Watchmaker, the second of three for this Saturday's Weekend Warrior. We go down to Laurel, Maryland for the Laurel Turf Cup, a mile and a half on the turf course. You've got a big full field in here, Mike, and, well, hopefully the pronunciation is correct, but you're going to go with the number 3, Knesser for Arnaud Delacour.
I hope the pronunciation is right. If not, it's my fault, Matt. It's not your fault. It's my fault. Yes, I'm going with Knesser in here. And this is a really fun betting race. I mean, there are a lot of ways that the betting public can go in here. I think you'd have to be doing something very wrong if you don't get value in this race. As a matter of fact, the whole card, there are 7 stakes races at Laurel on Saturday. The whole card's really interesting. I just wanted a brand new face in this spot because while there are a bunch of horses in here you could make cases for, they all have, knocks too. I have knocks in all of them as well, whereas I haven't seen Knesser yet, so I can't knock him. But I do know this. His first races this year, before his last, were all very, very good, and they were all races longer than the mile and a half that he has to go on Saturday. So he's going to have no issue with the distance. All solid races. As a matter of fact, his string of performances before his last starts were so good that he was actually a legitimate contender for a Group 2 race at St. Cloud in July in his most recent outing. And he made a run in that race, and then he flattened out late. And I think the fact that he flattened out late, and now he's in the United States, and now he's first-time Lasix, it makes me think he might have bled in that race. So he is first-time Lasix. He's here in the U.S. He's got good European form. Early in his career, he was a very well-regarded horse. He really didn't pan out the way they probably originally thought he would, but still, I think he's a very effective horse, especially at this distance. He's a new face. He's in the expert hands of Arnaud Delacour, who's got really, really good numbers. If you look at the bottom of the past performances, he's got excellent numbers in all the pertinent categories in this race, including with the jockey Fergal Lynch. So I wanted a new face. Knesser is absolutely a new face, but I think he's got some dangerous Euro form here.
At face value, there doesn't appear to be a lot of early speed in this race. One, does that concern you about your selection? And two, do you think that makes the likely speed in here, the number 6, Infinite Wisdom, very, very dangerous?
Well, I think Infinite Wisdom is dangerous, and it does concern me a little bit. But Infinite Wisdom, when he won the John's Call last time out at Saratoga, he absolutely walked on the early lead. I mean, he went as slow as a horse can go in a race, even in a mile and 5/8 race. I mean, it was very slow on a firm turf course, and he walked. And he might get away with a slow pace again this time, but the one little concern I have, and maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but he's coming back in only 3 weeks. I mean, he won a mile and 5/8 race at Saratoga 3 weeks ago. And, this isn't 1960. I mean, horses don't come back in 3 weeks and run bang-up races anymore. They need a little bit more time to recover. And, I'm just not sure that Infinite Wisdom is going to fire his A race again this time. And but he is in control of the pace, and maybe that will help him overcome that.
Among other contenders in this race, you've got the ever-popular Maryland-bred, the 5, Talk Show Man. You've got the morning line favorite, the 8, Manitoulin. Is there anyone else that you're interested in using along with your pick?
Well, I took a long look at Manitoulin, and I think he can absolutely get a piece of this race. But I have to tell you, frankly, I was a little bit disappointed in his last 2 starts. I mean, he might have been compromised by his slow pace last time, and Hello Don Julio always had the jump in him. But still, when he finished second to Hello Don Julio in an allowance race up at Saratoga, he really didn't kick on in the late stages like I wanted to see him. And then he's got a trouble line 2 starts back at Arlington Park. And, I mean, if you go back and watch the replay, he did steady in the very late stages, but it cost him absolutely nothing. He was going to finish 4th whether he had trouble in that race or not, and he was probably going to be beaten about the same distance because it happened so late. But his prior 2 races were good, and, I think Manitoulin could get a piece of this race. You've also got the last 2 winners of this race in here, in St. Albans Boy and Renowned, and it looks like they're well below their best form. But, I wouldn't completely discount them because they did win these. They did account for the last 2 runnings of this race. And, in Renowned's case, he has been compromised by slow paces lately.
Race number 8, Laurel Park, Saturday, a day filled with stakes races down there in Maryland. It is the Laurel Turf Cup. Mike's going to go with the number 3, Knesser, for Arnaud Delacour. We're going to take a break. When we come back, 3rd and final race for this Saturday's Weekend Warrior. 2-year-old fillies going 2 turns down at Churchill Downs. It's the Pocahontas.